Hi guys, it's Jax here, and so in one of my videos where I showed some knives just a few uploads ago, a couple days ago, I mentioned in passing that I would take this Damascus Damasteel Wharncliffe and sharpen it up because it never got a sharpening on a Lansky stone system. What it was sharpened on was I can't remember, maybe just the belt sander or something like that. So anyways, so I'm gonna shoot a little video here, and I have the camera on this wood or old metal stool, so I'm gonna see if I can crack this off and just show you a little bit about the Lanskys. So anyways, so here's the stones I have for the Lansky system. So you got your really coarse stones, the stones you'd start with if you wanted to reprofile a blade. 120 grit, so a coarse stone, and then it goes up in different grits. I got a couple 280 grits is the next step up. Then it jumps to 600 grit stones, and then you can buy an additional different types of stones, such as this is a 1000 grit ceramic rod, and the finest grit or ceramic rod they offer is the sapphire stone, which is 2000 grit. And I don't know if that's different than sandpaper grits. It might be not the same kind of equivalency. It might be sorry, I'm kind of just trying to get the camera right. Anyways, it might be these sapphire stones might be something like 4 or 5 or 6,000 if it was a sandpaper equivalency. I'm not sure. So anyways, so I kind of did touch up this Damascus Wharncliffe. It's my mom's knife that I gave her. It's a homemade knife with a homemade heat treatment, home heat treatment on it. So here's some really flexible, thin kind of newspaper. And anyway, so I touched it up with the coarse stone and the medium stone. So I went up to 280 grit on it, and it's already you wouldn't want to get cut with this thing. It's really aggressively sharp. You don't have to go up too much to the grits to get this crazy edge. Like, this thing is really dangerously sharp right now, and that's only at 280 grit. So in case you haven't seen the Lansky system at work, and if the camera, when I get the knife put in the sharpening jig, if it doesn't look good in the camera because I'm looking at the back of the LED screen, I'll try to move to a different position. As you can imagine, I'm sitting behind the camera and I gotta do it with my arms stretched out, so I'm not sure how that's gonna work. But and then if all turns out well, hopefully I can do a part 2 that's maybe just a couple minutes long with the camera really focused in, seeing if I could split a hair or something like that with this knife. See if I can get it hair whittling sharp. So the Lansky system comes with 1, 2, 3. Comes with 1, 2, 3. I think it comes with 4 stones. Yeah, 120, 280, and a 600. Maybe it only comes with 3 stones. I'm not sure, but there's other kits where you can buy diamond rods and you use this kind of system. So what we have here is the clamping jig. A little trick for not scratching up your blades is to take a little piece of paper and fold that around the back of your knife, because when you clamp it in, you could you can get a bunch of scratches and stuff like that. So then you would just unscrew it enough to clamp the jig on it, on the knife here. Kind of running into difficulties here. So we'll just go with that, and then you would take your screwdriver and tighten it up a tad, the jig, tighten her up. And as you can see, there's a bit of a difference. So there's this screw here, and you would adjust that screw to compensate for the angle. As you can see, it's rising. So I think you might want to get that equal, or you can leave it at some other angle to to achieve some other angle. So I have the knife clamped in here. Now this is just an aluminum jig with cutout holes of 17 degrees at the bottom, a 20 degree next, a 25 degree, and a 30 degree for edge bevels. When you use this thing, you don't have to unclamp the knife to do the other side. You simply, both sides have holes, so you simply do one side, flip it around, insert your rod, and away you go on the other side. So anyways, it also comes with these rods here, and I'll just kind of take it off the stone and show you how this works here. So here's the soft kind of Arkansas-like 280 grit medium stone that got that knife as sharp as it is now. I think I'm going to take the jump up to a 600 grit fine stone. So we're going to go ahead and do that. So you just kind of take this, there's a little hole here in the stone, and you slide the rod through it, lay it on a flat surface. I have to go lay this on a flat surface here. So you would lay it on a flat surface to make sure the rod and the stone are straight, and then you just tighten that little screw, which kind of locks the rod in place. A lot of the times it can wiggle free, and you spend quite a few times retightening that rod. It's not a perfect system. Oops, sorry. It's not a perfect system, but it actually does get the knives really sharp. And so anyways, I think I did I just trying to remember the last degree I put on there. So let me just pull this back here. Put the camera ahead. Okay, so you choose a degree, an angle, and you would slide your rod into it, and you would start working the stone. In fact, I might get in front of the camera here and kind of push this away, see where I'm at. Hopefully I'm in frame. So you could put a magic marker on the very cutting edge if you forget what your last angle that you chose was, and you would take a magic marker, put it right on the cutting edge, and then you would do a few passes and look at how the stone ground off the magic marker, or not the magic marker, but the black Sharpie style marker, and then it kind of tells you if you're on the same kind of angle that you were before. So I'm not going to do that. I think I was at a 17 degree angle. So I'm going to start working this thing. So you would hold it in your hand. Hopefully I'm in the camera frame here. So you'd hold the jig in your hand, and then you would start working it. So what I like to do is do up and down, back and forth style of things. The Lansky people don't recommend that. They say it's more efficient if you do only forward strokes like this. But I like to use it like it was a Edge Pro style of system. And then after I've ground off all the metal, I could do a fine sweeps, forward sweeps to finish it off on both sides. So anyways, I'm just going to go about polishing this blade, pushing down pretty hard. It's already starting to shine up really nice, and so I'm working the blade. I have used this to grind bevels on things that didn't have bevels, and what happens is it works and it does a good job, but sometimes it can take a lot of work, and you have to clean the stone very often, because as you can imagine, this is so what I'm doing is actually putting a different bevel on rather than just sharpening an existing bevel, and that really gums up the so that's what I'm talking about, and that really gums up the stone. So you have to rub it with oil. And as soon as you put oil on that stone and then rub it in with your fingers, it acts as an emulsifier in that it lifts and suspends the crud particles, and then you just simply wipe them off. So it's like soap that way, where that's how soap works. It lifts and suspends the particles, whatever it may be, dirt or whatever, and then it could just be washed off. So anyways, so working this little blade with the 600 grit stone. It's already way shinier than before. So for some reason it can make squeaky sounds when I'm dragging it back and forth. It doesn't always do that. Right now it is doing it for some reason. You can get rid of that by wetting the, maybe oiling the rod here. So I'm just looking at my angle here. Okay, so I have got knives so sharp that they'll split hairs with this thing. So if you're not used to that level of sharpness, you'll be delighted with this system. In Canada here, at a place that's, at a store that's has fair pricing for the basic set, which is just stones rather than diamond stones, you can get these things for about 30 bucks, sometimes less. I bought mine for at a store called Canadian Tire, and they weren't really they were asking kind of a premium price for it. I think I paid 40 or 50 bucks for my kit. And then I saw it in another store called Cabela's for almost half the price. So I could have got two there, but so I don't know why that is. So, okay, so anyways, working my 600 grit on a 17-degree bevel, checking it out, seeing what's going on here. Sometimes the tips can give you troubles. You get one portion of the knife really sharp, and then you find that the tip you still see that the tip needs work because you can see light reflecting at the cutting edge. So it does take some work. It's not a sharpener that is effortless. It does take some amount of work. If you're sharpening a hard steel like D2, it could take you a good long time. I've literally spent hours on a single knife with my stones, really pressing hard, getting a really good workout in my arms, sharpening up my knives. But like I said, that was regrinding and reprofiling bevels. So I would take like a knife that had a 20 or 25 degree bevel and grind away the steel to put a 17-degree bevel on it. And that's what it was time consuming. If you had, say, if you had a pocket knife like a little Swiss Army knife or something, and you weren't trying to reprofile it, you were just trying to sharpen it, you could do that you could do that pretty quick. So I'm just checking to see if she's getting a nice mirror edge, which she is. So, like I said, the company doesn't recommend the back and forth that I'm doing now, but I like to grind away at it, and then later I'll do the fine tuning with forward only strokes. So anyways, you saw me flip the knife there. A lot of the times you could feel the burr develop, and there's a nice even burr on the other side, and so you'd slide in at the same angle and start grinding that off too. Start grinding the burr off. So I'm just going to work this here. This is going to take longer than the average knife that doesn't need reprofiling, because I'm really putting new bevels on this thing. My stones are a bit different, so this 600 stone is less worn out than the 280 stone, and of course that makes a difference in you know, the thickness of the stone and the angle that it achieves on the blade. So the stones do wear out within time, and replacement stones can be had for around 10 bucks or under, sometimes maybe even half that price. So all in all, it's a pretty good system. That squeaking might be driving you nuts. This side's really polishing nice. It's almost mirror-like already. And I'm using, like I said, 600 grit. And that's really a terrible squeak there. So, okay. Really kind of nice looking. You can do side to side, up and down, just up kind of strokes if you want it to. So that's looking pretty scary. And you can see the grind lines from the previous stone because it's a rougher grind. So you can tell when you're down at the cutting edge, or if you haven't got there yet. Plus the burr, if you don't get there, the burr won't form. Afterwards, even after using the finest stone, if you wanted to, you're that kind of guy, you could take a strop, either a homemade strop or a straight razor strop or any kind of knife strop, and you could strop the blade. You could load that strop with stropping compound or chromium oxide to give it a little more extra aggressive polishing. So this is coming along nice here. We're getting down to the nitty gritties here on the 600 grit stone. So even if you didn't want to do a 4-stone polish, like, you know, coarse, medium, fine, what is this next one? Ultra fine, and then super ultra fine or sapphire, you can just put a working edge on with the 120 grit, which is the very first coarse stone, and it can be dangerously sharp and cut through all sorts of things. If you want one of those fancy looking mirror polished edges that you see on some of the blade forums and stuff like that in pictures, then you can go up to the crazy grits and put this crazy shiny edge that's like polished, because it basically is polished. So, okay, so anyways, just gonna work this for a few more seconds here, and depending on how you want to hold it. Sharpening's dangerous. As you can see, I just lost my groove there for a second and took a thick chunk of skin off my finger. So careful with that if you can help it. So I can still see a little bit of the previous grit there. That squeaking is kind of horrible. I'm gonna have to get rid of that. So I'm just gonna wet the. What I'm doing is just wetting the rod and with some alcohol, and see if that gets rid of the squeaking. Okay. Probably not the most exciting video, but for you guys out there that have never tried this type of system where you clamp it in and you drag your stone back and forth across it this way, you can be really surprised with the results. And then once you get your knife good and sharp, you only have to touch it up every once in a while. So it's kind of neat that way. Oops. Okay. So that squeaking came right back. If I used oil, it would probably stay away for a while, because I would imagine the alcohol's already evaporated. I just have a little bit of the previous stone's edge there. It could be a bugger to get out. Okay, I think it's out. There's a technique to sharpen the tip too. Okay, I'm gonna turn it around. Now I used the 600 grit stone on both edges, so they're both done completely with the 600 grit. So I'm just gonna gently and without a lot of pressure, because for the first few minutes you saw me, I was really pushing down on it and applying some pressure. Now it's almost just letting the stone drag and just cleaning it up with light pressure and a forward motion only, no back and forth, just to promote the removal of the burr. And that light pressure seems to help get it really sharp. Okay, so, and see how easy it is to flip? And that's what you're doing at the very end. You fine tune it by flipping it and doing light passes. Okay, flipping again. Okay, anyways, that's the 600 grit stone. It's tremendously sharp right now. It's hard to cut when the knife's in the jig, but it's deadly. Send yourself to the hospital if you screw up with this thing sharp. grabs, oh, it's crazy sharp right now. It's very, very dangerous kind of edge right now. 20 minutes, okay. So I'm going to go to the next stone. So I'm taking the 600 grit stone out. I'm putting the 1000 grit fine stone or ultra fine stone on. Sometimes I run into problems with ultra fine stones. Sometimes the knife seems sharper at 600 grit or 280 grit, and sometimes it isn't. It's just sometimes a really sharp, sometimes the sharp of the blade, it doesn't feel very sharp, but it actually is sharper. Because it's not aggressive, it's a smooth edge rather than a toothy edge. So I'm just going to work that over. Use a bit of force on it. That's the 1000 grit stone. When you get up to 1000 grit itself puts a really beautiful polish, and you'll see that on part 2 when I use the macro settings to show what the cutting edge looks like and what a polished edge looks like. Of course, many of you guys already know. This knife did not have such a big bevel or a highly polished edge when I started. Flipping it around again. Okay. So quickly, before this video gets too long, I'm going to take the 1000 grit stone off because you did most of your work with the previous stone. And I'm going to throw on my, my finest stone that I have, a 2000 grit stone. As you can see, changing the stones takes very little time. Sometimes you might want to rub the other grits off before you switch to a new stone. That's something I forgot. So you don't have any particles from a fine or from a coarse stone when you're trying to put a fine stone on. Might be a good idea. Hopefully I'm in camera for this whole video, in camera frame. If you do go through the grits and you finally get to the 2000, it's going to be a really beautiful, shiny, very sharp edge. I'm not sure this is going to split hairs. It probably depends on the heat treatment and how big the grain is, and it might depend on a lot of things like that. Flipping it over. And just going to work this thing here. Like I said, when your stones start to wear and the other stones don't, these ceramic stones don't wear and as much as those softer lower grit stones. So what you end up having is stones of different sizes. You can get around that by buying a bunch of different stones. They're pretty cheap to replace. Or you could only use stones of a certain size. Okay, so anyways, I'm going to feel this edge. It's viciously sharp down here. Something's not quite right with the tip, although it is crazy sharp. There's a burr on it is why. I gotta get the burr. So, you know what, guys? I'm gonna continue this. And it's crazy sharp back there. And I'm going to continue this and I'll see you in part 2 for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes to show you a macro, and I'm going to try to split a hair if my camera can capture it. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you then, okay? Bye.